Why do we procrastinate? Why can't we do something that we know that we should do, but the difficulty we feel seems to overwhelm us? Why do we decide to focus on the things that we can't change instead of the things that we can? Why do we plan to go to bed at a reasonable time, then end up staying up much later than we planned, just mostly wasting time? This is going to be the first part in a series of videos where I'm going to talk about one of the most important skills that you can develop in life, because it enables you to reach your best, to perform better than you ever thought possible. But on the flip side, without it, you can never achieve anywhere near your best. Before we go any further, it would really help me to reach more people if you clicked like on this video. If you also want to know when I release a video, remember to click subscribe and hit the bell notification icon. So the skill I'm here to discuss today is called frustration tolerance, a concept described by renowned psychologist Albert Ellis. Low frustration tolerance, LFT, or short-term hedonism, describes the inability to tolerate unpleasant feelings or stressful situations. It stems from the feeling that reality should be the way that you want it to be, and that any frustration from this should be resolved quickly and easily. People with low frustration tolerance experience strong or paralyzing negative emotions when frustrations are not quickly resolved. And when they feel those emotions, their behaviors and actions are then directed towards avoiding further frustrating events. That sounds great in the short term. You don't have to do the thing that sucks. But in the long run, it paradoxically leads to increased frustration and even greater mental stress and worse feelings. So why do we put off or avoid doing the things that we rationally decide that we should do when the time comes to actually do them? It's because we don't feel 100% like doing them in the moment. It feels difficult. And when we have internalized the belief that we must feel totally good and it must feel easy in order for us to do the thing that we know we should do, instead of simply thinking, I don't like these conditions, and then continuing with our plans, we think deep down, if these conditions don't change, if they aren't just as I want them to be, then I can't do anything at all. And this is a problem because in life, conditions are rarely the way that you want them to be. LFT is a main cause of procrastination. It causes us to delay going into situations that might be difficult to endure, and sometimes we avoid them completely. This becomes a problem because achieving many of the things that are worthwhile and important in life require us to take actions that involve some level of discomfort. Avoiding difficult situations and tasks can also prevent us from dealing constructively with problems, such as leaving bad relationships, improving unhealthy lifestyles, and moving on from dissatisfying jobs. We avoid a little bit of suffering now and end up suffering much more in the long run. And this all comes from a good place. We are mammals, and most of life that has ever existed on Earth knows that discomfort should be avoided because it's usually something that can get us killed. But our lives aren't like that anymore. It's possible now to just wake up from your bed, work all day in your underwear, order food to your door, and then go to bed again without ever having left the comfort of your home. And it's killing us. I'm not even talking about getting out of shape here, but that is something I'll come to in future videos. I'm talking about it killing our ability to enjoy life. A long time ago, I made this video about being stuck in a rut, and I used this illustration in it. The idea is that we know that life gets harder as we put in an effort, but there is a point where we think that we're at the best part because it's no longer as difficult as it was before. And we see that it's getting more and more difficult if we make any further changes, so we decide to stay where we are, not knowing that if we can just climb over that mountain, things actually get much more comfortable for us. So when I say it's killing us to not climb that mountain, I mean that we are enduring much more suffering and unrealized potential than we would if we were to just shift our focus away from our short-term feelings to our long-term goals. Speaking of mountains, which leads me to this analogy which outlines the broad direction of the solution. If you've ever learned to ski, you'll have learned that in order to move across a slope in a controlled way, as opposed to straight down it, you need to lean down the mountain. Now, that's counterintuitive. You're on this steep slope, you're afraid of falling, and you're telling me that I have to lean in the direction that I'm afraid of falling? What are you, nuts? But when you actually do, you're actually much more stable. That journey out of your comfort zone, doing what you don't feel like doing, actually brings you more stability and safety. And refusing to do so gets you flying downhill out of control, maybe falling and potentially hurting yourself. And this tolerance can be built up. This is why going out of your door on a day when it's cold and raining, like I did today, or taking a cold shower, can make us much more productive for the rest of the day, because we move out of our comfort zone a bit before we move back in. It preps us to do difficult things that we feel that we don't want to do. If you didn't sleep so well one day, do you give up and say, because I'm tired today, I can't get anything done? No, you would say to yourself, I would prefer it if I wasn't so tired, but I'm going to do these things anyway. This skill is a muscle to build. The more we do it, the better we get at it. And the more we get used to doing things that we don't feel like doing, the more we can do, and the more we actually feel like doing, and the more we actually do. I'm going to talk much more about this in future videos, but for now, I would invite you to exercise discomfort, starting small and getting bigger and more challenging as you go on. And then, having built up that ability to do hard things even when you don't feel like it, when you find those mountains in your life, the ones you have to climb or the ones you have to lean down in order to travel across, even if it's scary, even if it's uncomfortable, you'll be much better able to face them. You're welcome.